Welcome to MOH. Our mission is to inspire, promote, and celebrate excellence among men, and especially black men. Today in the studio we have Brother Muhammad. And when I'm with Brother Muhammad, we talk about diverse issues that affect us as men. And one of the key things that we have to look at here is wherever you go in the world, irrespective of continent, be it on the motherland, Africa, you go to Asia, you go to Europe, or you go to America, the story is always the same. The black man is always at the bottom of the ladder, both economically, from a health perspective. We struggle with the relationships. And those are some of the things that we want to discuss today. What is the problem, Brother Muhammad? How are you doing?
Good evening, my brother.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
So what do you think is the problem?
Sure, Steve, that's a heavy topic. It's a lot of factors that are affecting our black brothers, stemming from childhood to their ancestors, to beliefs, and how our mindset was being brainwashed by those that came and conquered some parts of Africa. Funny enough is that yesterday I was watching a movie called The Woman King, and the story behind it basically is how a tribe had to fight off another black tribe because the other black tribe wanted to enslave that tribe, to sell it to the British, not even the British, to the Brazilian, Portuguese traders back then. And I looked how it was just normal for black people to be traded. It's almost as if it is what it is. It's like buying candy from the street. It's normal. And during the movie, a white man got killed. And when a white man got killed, it changed the whole perspective. Just say, uh-oh, you just killed a white man. They're coming for you. And the fear in those black people that, oh my goodness, we just committed a grievous crime. And I said to myself, oh wow, if this is how it was in the 1800s in the case, how is it now? How is it any different now? Now there's no more guns that are being used. Now it's more of an economical fight to say the moment a black person comes into a white man's purse, uh-oh, you've just killed a white man. And that hostility, you trying to make bread for your family, you trying to break into that market, whether it be gold, whether it be steel, whether it be selling bread or making bread, for example, the moment you come into a territory that you're not wanted, even farming, for example, you've just crossed the line. And you will be attacked by those powers that be.
There's consequences.
It's consequences. Whether it's government or whether it's the white persons themselves putting the prices down, etc., etc. So we haven't really moved from that slavery trade. The difference is that then it was for hard labor. Now it's for economical freedom, and our people are still struggling in that sense. So it will require a lot of introspective, breaking down things into pieces. I have my own views, and perhaps I can share with your viewers there on Men of Honor, and let's see how they accept it. I think maybe I can leave it there for now.
So let's look at it like this, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally, during slavery, what was Africa's biggest export to the world?
Slaves.
And how is that different now?
It's different in the sense that we are still slaves, but not hard labor slaves. Slaves of a different type, whereby we're serving those with more than what we can afford as black people. What's worse now is that how the white person is able to manipulate a black person's thinking. We're talk about apartheid. Even in apartheid, we had black people hating each other. Even today, it's still the same thing. And the sad part is that our white counterparts are just looking at us and laughing. Look at these fools. What are they doing? So slavery has turned into a different format, if I can call it that, from hard labor to now economical slavery, whereby you are forced to buy from the white man. But yet, the moment you try and sustain yourself, there has to be something wrong with your product.
So what was the point of slavery, you think? Why did it have to happen?
From a religious point of view, which I have my own view, from a religious point of view, I think we're being punished. I think the black man is being punished for what our ancestors did. Once upon a time, there was a man called Mansa Musa. Everybody knows that. And he walked from Mali right through to Egypt, through to Saudi Arabia, and he was a king blessed with multiple fruits of the earth, being your gold, etc., iron, and all those things. And he was just a wealthy man. Looking at that time period and what happened around in Mali and the countries alike, Africa was thriving. But he touched a thorn in the European market whereby he traded gold as if it's nothing. For him, it was, well, it's from the earth, so might as well just give it out. I mean, he almost collapsed the Egyptian economy just by giving out gold in Egypt when he was passing through. That's one person that we as black person look forward to, or if we look behind and say, here is a man, Mansa Musa, who was so wealthy and he was a black man. But from him going forward, everyone else becomes irrelevant, or rather in small parts, not as significant as he was, Mansa Musa. So what happened? There's something that we did as black people that offended the Almighty. Somehow, some way, I'm not saying I'm God myself or I'm godly, but there's something that we did, because for slavery to have happened, just the same way as Egyptians were overpowering the Jews, if you look at the history in the Christian Bible, and God almost switched things on the Egyptians and made the Jews more powerful. Same thing with now, the Arabs took power from the Jews. If you look at which is the richest nation in the world, it's Arabs. So power has been shifting from nation to nation, or from culture to culture. There has to be a reason or a drive behind those shifts to say, why is it moving the way it's moving? So looking at a black person where once upon a time, black people, or rather Muslims, used to rule over Spain. Spain was a Muslim estate, but something gave in, and they ruled over Spain over 800 years. They ruled over India over 1,000 years, God willing. But along the lines, we as black people, or as Arabs, or as Indians, we ended up tending to forgoing our culture, making things more acceptable, whereby those things were not meant to be acceptable. Losing touch with your soul, losing touch with your God. I said, okay, we can allow this. Where kings and rulers and your government came, and each person who wanted power decided to change the status quo of what God had allowed. For example, polygamy. It's there. You can't change polygamy. It's always been there, right? So along the lines, things started changing. And that change obviously upset somebody, to a point where God is a very patient person. He gives respite in the sense that you have as much time as you want. Take your time. But when I come with my wrath, I'm coming for you. And this is a situation that we as black people find ourselves in. We must have upset the Almighty. Now, you and I are trying to revive that black culture, to say black on black violence is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You don't get Europe on Europe violence. It's all about territory. What's happening now between Ukraine and Russia, it's all about territory. The guy wants to dominate the country. But you would not find a white person, another white person, fighting the way we as black people fight. Jealousy, envy, greed, all of those things are so instilled in black people.
So if we look, you said you can think of a couple of reasons. One is from a spiritual perspective that you've just given us your take. Now let's look at slavery through the eyes of the economy. What do you think is the economic reasons for anybody to indulge in slavery? It's a trade.
It's a trade.
Yeah.
It's a trade. It's a trade, and also to control power. You know, the Afrikaners in South Africa, for example, when they took over the British, they were outcasts. They were left to die and to find themselves, and they literally had to learn how to make money within South Africa without the help of the British, the Germans, Portuguese. They had to find themselves. And they did it so well by having what you call brotherhood, keeping each other very close to each other and assisting with one another whenever one needs help. So they did it so well to a point where they needed help from the black person, but as a slave, whereby I mean, if you look at the population now, even if you go back, black people were still a majority in this country. But for some reason, they are a minority when it comes to economic wealth. It doesn't make any sense. But look at how the Afrikaners gelled together and how they held on to power, but kept it amongst themselves and only shared what is needed to be shared with the black people. And also slave trade. Segregation of areas where black people can go, white people can go. So economically, they also were able to brainwash us to say Zulu versus Xhosa, Sotho versus Tswana, Pedi versus Ndebele, and so forth and so forth. If you look at how the Afrikaners went to King Cetshwayo, a bit of history that I know, and they wanted to persuade him to give them part of their land. He refused, the man refused. What happened? They took it by force. And some even instilled fear of other cultures to say, you see, the Swatis don't want you to have this. This is why, if you look at the history, the kings of Swati had to run away. He was part of the Nguni tribe, but he ran away to Swaziland because he was scared his own brother, who was a Zulu man, was going to kill him. You understand? Mm. So they were so smart in creating an animosity amongst the black people and causing a rift. They did it so well that even to this day and age where we are right now, we still have a problem against our black brothers. Black on black violence is still dominant.
So if we look at it like that, Brother Mohammed, looking at it from a cause, slavery existed purely because it was an economic, it had economic benefits.
Correct.
And right now, what is Africa's biggest export to the world then?
It's still core metal.
Okay.
It's still your gold, your iron, your some agriculture part. Now we know in Angola and places like that, they have oil as well.
But don't you think Africa's biggest export to the world now is still labor?
Okay. Explain to me what you mean by that so I get to understand.
In the sense, because this brings us back to our own schooling institution. Mm. Because when we look at all these things, we have to look at the institution that govern us. Mm. We led by institutions. School is an institution. Mm. Religion is an institution. Health is an institution. Correctional services, music is an institution. Mm. But if you look at most of these institutions, they always do the opposite of what they promise. Mm. If you look at our health system, it doesn't make us healthy. Mm. If you look at our education system, it doesn't make us clever. If you look at our banking system, it doesn't make us wealthy, it makes us poor. Mm. Now, if you look now, our biggest export as black people, and especially the more educated you are, there's no difference between that person and the old slave that was being traded for his. The bigger you want, the more strong you are, of course.
Correct.
The higher your price because you're more useful in the farm. And it's now the same thing. We've just traded the hot sun on the farm with an air-conditioned office in Sandton. Mm. Because still at the same time, we're still going on to onto the stage to show, look at me, how I look, I can work this by taking that CV. The more you go in terms of school. So, which means it's a mindset. It's a mindset that has been instilled in us. So we think, most of us, and when you talk to most of us, we always say that the past has nothing to do with me. You know, I wasn't there, it happened. But we forget, yes, none of us can change the past, not even Allah himself. God can't. But what do you think we need to do now? Because our mind is wrong. You cannot change your behavior until you change your belief system. And our belief system, you can see it, everything that is happening among us, they're the effects. The relation between me and you is not the greatest, and I'm talking in general as a black man. And the relationship between me and my own queen is worse. The relationship between men and the relation between a black man, our black father and his kids. So you find a few that are doing great, but those are more the exception than the norm. Now, how do we start right now where we have to accept what's happened? How do we start growing seeds of the future that are bright now? What are the things we as black men have to start taking full responsibility for, so that our offsprings, we have to sacrifice ourselves and become the martyrs of the old system that did not want us to become who God intended us to become, so that we can create a new model, a new pathway, a new roadmap for our kids to become and grow fully into who they're supposed to be.
Very profound. And I'll probably start by saying that brotherhood. If you go back to the roots of a black man relationship, you mentioned something to me the other day that nowadays people give a hand fist when you shake someone's hand, but when you touch a person's hands, there's connectivity. There's that brotherly love of transfer to say, "Are you okay? I see you. I see you." In fact, the word "sawubona" means "I see you. I recognize you," as in yakubona ukuthi usaphila. And brotherhood means taking care of that which is not your own. For me, in the sense that your neighbor doesn't belong to you. Him or he's got his own wife. Your kids are your children. That's obvious. That you take care of. That's part of your life. But brotherhood look to the other side, and how he or she is living, or how he or she need help. If we got to understand that black people, as black people in Africa, for example, have different things to offer. Different love, different skills, different languages, but we all come from the same mother and father, the black people. And if we extend a hand to a person that's less privileged or less fortunate than oneself, you bring a great justice to society. So for me, it's brotherhood. And brotherhood doesn't just, I'm very spiritual. There's a verse in the Quran that says that whatever you spend for the poor, it needs to be in God's cause. But that explains what God's cause is. If you give a street child that you can see from your eyes that this person is high on drugs, this person, the moment I give them 10 rand, he or she will automatically go and buy more of that substance. So that's not doing God's cause. But seeing a mother with a child, just say, "Hey, it's tough, guys. I'm being here from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5, and I'm still here. Help me even with 100 rand. You got to weigh your options. Number one, can you afford to give that person a job? You first start at the highest level. Before you even go to the lowest level, which is 100 rand or 50 or whatever she's asking for. What can I do from that person? Are you able to stop the car and say, "Hey, what's going on? Who are you? Who is this baby? Why are you here? Why are you not looking for a job? Where are you getting stuck? How are your papers?" Get to understand the person's situation first before just hear what. My mother used to have a saying that she used to say, British people, our mothers back then used to work in the kitchens and all those things. And she said, there's a term that we gave them. Every time they gave you something, they would say, "Here you are." As in, "Here you are." But then in the slang, it was called hewa. Oh, they gave you a hewa, meaning here you are. You understand? Here, take it. I don't need it. You can just take it. So we shouldn't be the same or applying the same principle of saying, here you are. Rather, who are you? Why are you here? And you may find that sometimes you may actually be able to assist the person more than just giving them 100 rand. What if the person wants to get back home? He or she needs a bus to get back to Zimbabwe or Mozambique, wherever he needs to go to. You don't know. But the fact that you couldn't be bothered, you think that giving them a 10 rand, give them your last burger. And here's the thing also about giving. Islam, again, I'll go back to scripture, it says, when you give only that which is good. Meaning that if you're eating a burger and you're halfway through the burger, it's still good. Perhaps if you didn't give it away to a street person, you probably eat it the next day. But if it's a quarter of a burger, most likely now you throw it away. So why would you give something that you yourself will not even eat, but yet think someone else will eat it? It's a disgrace. It cannot be godly. It's ungodly. So perhaps think of, can a 10 rand that I gave to a petrol attendant get him home? Of course not. Forget it. The person probably spends 50 rand a day to get to work. And yet you think your 10 rand will get him a juice. Or how many people are giving him a 10 rand? Some are even giving him a 5 rand. So extending a neighborly hand doesn't just mean here you are. It means have a conversation. Have a conversation, get to understand who is that person, who is she, and where is she coming from. That is what you call brotherly love. But unfortunately, we are far from that, especially looking at the political climax. If you look at the political climax, I'll just take South Africa for example. You have two white parties, which is the DA and AfriForum. But yet, you would never find the AfriForum or the DA into a quabble. Yet ANC, EFF, IFP, ACDP, all of those other black parties are always in turmoil. Find me a case, I bet you, and God is my witness, you will never find a case that the DA opened against AfriForum. Afri is for Afrikaners. DA is for the British, the whites, those that have that kind of money here in South Africa. It's quite obvious that you can see. But you would never find these two white people having a squabble.
100%. Now, let's look at it from that context. And I think we have to have an helicopter view. Let's not be in the mix. Let's not be stuck and look at our brother on the street that is struggling, because focusing on that man always brings us to that level where we lose sight of a vision that God has put in us. Now, if I take you back also in the scriptures, and you find very well where God clearly says in the Bible, and he says, my people are suffering because of lack of knowledge. And then he goes ahead to say, because you've rejected knowledge, I will also reject your children. I will reject. Now, he says you've rejected knowledge, which means the knowledge is there. Now, we all caught, as black people, we are caught in a matrix. And what most of us are doing is just reliving our parents' past. We constantly come in and your father is a security guard, your father is a taxi driver, your uncle is a policeman, the other one is a teacher. Those are the careers that we know, and that's the highest you can climb on the ladder. And we start aspiring to be that. Now, we need to change our outlook. Why? Because we have the ability to look at it from above and see exactly what is happening. Now, we've had a very bad past, which we can talk about. But we cannot take too much time there because it will suck us there. Because if we do not take our time, the same thing we're doing right now, take our time and draw and paint a very bright vision, bright future for us. The only option we have is the darkness of our past that is going to pull us back. Because we cannot exist in a vacuum. Now, if we look at our children now, we all know what we're going through. What are the practical things? You have that boy sitting there in Alex, Shoshonguve, there in Soweto, that believes, I'm in this state because of my brother that came from Zimbabwe. I'm exactly in this space because of my brother that came from Mozambique. How would we address those issues? Because it has to start there. The unfortunate thing is he does not have the ability or the luxury to think like you from the place where you are.
Yeah, so now you're talking about xenophobia now, whereby
I never call it xenophobia. I never call it xenophobia because I'm looking at it as this is just fight for resources. You know, this is a hungry person, and you've seen it anywhere. It's a hungry person. Even to answer it more, let me ask you this. Who created townships?
the white people,
And why were townships created?
basically to segregate us from where white people stay,
And what else?
to also control.
Okay.
If you put black person in a certain space or certain area, you're able to control them. You know where they are, hence the whole thing of a dompas, whereby at 9 o'clock you're meant to be home. So you're even given a curfew. So they would know exactly where you are at what time and what time you need to be somewhere else. So it was more for control. If you look at, if the minority are such strong and acknowledgeable people, how do you control the masses? Segregate them, put them into groups, and monitor those groups. That's how they beat us to our game. Whereas Africans are not used to borders. We used to walk and travel from here to Cape to Cairo.
Yeah. So you see, those are the physical chains that townships brought. But I think we always miss the non-physical. Now, you've seen this, and you'll see this in Skinner's, when Skinner had rats in the laboratory, and he had this rat. He keeps it there for 3 days, and the rat is hungry. And on the 4th day, he comes and he takes a spoon and he hits on the cage. When the rat lifts itself on the back feet to see what's happening, then he gives it a morsel of bread. Now, over time, all he had to do is come, hit on the cage, and the rat knew exactly. That became a signal, and that was the only way. And you've seen it when we're training dogs, the same thing. In the beginning, you use treats. So what we're missing when it comes to townships, we're forgetting that if I create an environment and I put you in that environment, in the beginning I created an environment, but in the end the environment creates you. And that environment starts to live in you. You've seen people, and I see it a lot here, you can talk to people and somebody says, this one is a Zulu. This one is a Nigerian. How do they know that? Because now all of a sudden you start to carry your culture away. You start to carry your culture inside you. Now, one of the things that townships have done, and which I think we underestimate, it has set a mental belief on how high you can rise. Because in most cases, when a black person does well, the first place he has to run from is where? You run from the township and you go to the townhouse. So our people that are trying to get better run away from the township, and when they run from the township, automatically it means the boys in the township, they've got no aspirations. The only aspiration they have in the township is the tsotsi. It will be the soccer player. It will be the kwaito. Now, these are practical things that we need to start doing now, because if we don't do it now, we're perpetuating it. We should be living in the townships. Because in being there, townships should have sections where, of course, you've got, based on one's grace, one place that lives in a shack. Then from a shack, when he opens his eyes, he can see the next one is a 1-bedroomed house. The bedroomed house can see the next place, 2-bedroomed, and of course, you've got a mansion. Now, it becomes natural progression where you want to become more. So environment has become one of those things, and we as black people, we've never thought of these things. We keep on perpetuating the system that was used before for us to keep on creating the kind of men that are not serving. They're not serving us at all. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, when you spoke about hunger, to say that black on black violence, for lack of a better word, Zimbabwean versus South African is always based on poverty. No, I definitely agree on that. And you know, there's a program which I spoke to you about called Kasi Polis, Kasi Metropolitans. The majority of businesses that exist in the townships are not black owned. They're owned by foreigners. Not talking about now black foreigners. I'm talking about now Domlungus. He'll put a shop right. He'll put whatever there. He'll put whatever he wants. Put the big shops. And yet, that money, instead of circulating around the metropolitan itself, gets absorbed out of the country. Yet, the black person is meant to go and work and find the money somewhere else and bring it in, and vice versa. The process keeps going. So when you say we need to look almost like a microscope to say, okay, where are we going wrong with our kasis? Where are we going wrong with our townships? If you look deeper in, there are opportunities that one can create for our black persons to be able to sell, whereby instead of having your Magogo selling at a stop sign where it's hot, you formulate it better. You create the environment, you create the base. You say, okay, guys, this is where you're going to go and shop. This is where people can come and pass. You got to treat traffic. Traffic being where taxis stop, everybody has to pass through that particular shop. And yet, what you've seen happening is that is the white people then started becoming smart to stop those kind of progressions happening by saying, you know what, don't worry. Instead of you going to the market and bringing the fruits to Kasi, we will bring them for you. We'll get them from wherever you want and we'll bring them for you. So already you're told that transportation is covered from you. What happens in that case? The price goes up. And when the price goes up, that particular granny or grandpa can't afford now to buy. And then, okay, don't worry. Actually, we'll open up a shop here. We'll do it ourselves. You're out of the market. So nobody's looking and monitoring those small little businesses to say, why are they not turning around? Why are they not sustaining themselves? It has nothing to do with from hand to mouth. Look deeper into the economical climax and say, what is going on? Who is supplying that person, that granny, with what she's selling and at what price? Can granny compete with Makro? Of course they can compete with Checkers, Pick and Pay, Makro. She's out already. So a black person will go and rather buy at Checkers. It's way cheaper than the granny at the shop. So what is causing us not to look within deeper? Well, number one, who is supporting those white capitalists? The black people. We need to change their mindsets. How do we do that? Well, the new generation, the hungry generation, just say, let's change the status quo. Let's look within our metropolitan. How can we better our society? Don't go and live in a township or flat, whatever you were just mentioning now. Come back home. But when you come back home, you bring something into your home. Let's stay within the environment. You're absolutely right. Why can't we move back into the township? Well, number one, because of fear. Because of fear, you have a beautiful car, you have a beautiful this, and the moment people start looking at you, rumors start going around, this person is doing this person doing that. Well, perhaps it's time for us to step over that fear and take charge. You know, one politician said to me, you know, when you come into politics and you've been elected as leader, you got to bulldoze everybody. Once you've been elected and you're made into a provincial, whatever, you say, right, I've arrived. And nobody's going to move until I say they must move. So it's time, and this is why perhaps God created kings and all those people to govern, because you need someone to say, hey, enough is enough. We're doing it this way. But that person also needs capital support. You can't walk into a township and try and put those people when you're still making 1,000 rand a month.
But you see, it brings us to a primary question. Why are townships poor? Because if you look at statistics, and I might be wrong when it comes to numbers, I'm not going to quote numbers here, but I remember a few months ago I read how much the black population in townships spend on airtime. It's not poor. Yeah. So why are townships poor? Because those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. And then secondly, one thing that we all forget is you have to dominate where you populate. Which is one thing that most of us never think about. Wherever you are, you have to own the economy of the small little place where you are. And most of us never think of economy. We never think of economy because most of us never think of money. We think of money is not important when it comes to our upbringings. But to go back to the question, let's ask ourselves, why are townships poor?
It's a very easy question. Let's look at television, for example. You will see in an advert a car. Next to a car, you'll see a beautiful woman, half naked, bikini. Yet, the whole purpose of the advert is to sell you the car. What is she doing there? Mindset. To say, if you can get the car, you can possess such women. And she's always a model, looking great, and wow. Also, what's next? The shoes, the Gucci's, the Louis Vuittons, all those things. Who is the supporters of Louis Vuitton, the BMW? It's black people. From watching a television, from having billboards, you are already brainwashed to have those things. It's a must for you to have those things. But now, you are having money to buy airtime and all those things. What do you end up doing? Financing that car, financing those clothes, whatever the case might be. Black people are poor because of their own doing, because of the fact that, we can't live without. We think we can't live without this. We think we can't live without the champagnes, the nightlives, all those things. Same thing. Why is that those township places that open up, your Konkas, your Chisanyamas, all those things, day in, day out, people go in and spend money, and yet the owners still can't see their revenues. Either the price that they're buying meat from is too high, or themselves they're buying those things that are necessary for you to buy. You go to a beautiful place in Sandton City. Go to an estate here, and just take a drive, take a walk. You'll never find a Ferrari, a G-Wagon parked there. But the house is amazing. But yet a car is not giving you any value. Why people understand that? A car is an expense. A house is a commodity. A house is there to stay forever. But we have been brainwashed to think having a BMW is the thing. You've got to have a BMW. You've got to have a Gucci watch. You've got to have Louis Vuitton shoes. Why? Why? Why does the country use the resources to further other people's lives or further your own life? Build your mom a new house, like you said, from a shack to a single room to a double-story room. Why can't we want to live like that? It's not important to us. What's important to us is drinking. It's womanizing. It's going out to social lights and doing all those things. We need to change that mindset first to say kids nowadays, generation that's younger than us, they look up to these videos, to these adverts, and they want to be like that. Everyone, 99% of black people want to be a singer.
So then it brings us back to, down to one thing. Then we are attacking the wrong thing. We're spending a lot of time trying to solve our problem the wrong way. We have to spend more time. We have very little control over our environment because from a financial, political point of view, a black person is not that strong. But we forget that our environment responds to who we are. So we as a people, and especially I'm more focused on the black man, because the black man is your biggest supporter and buyer of your Louis Vuitton, of your BMW, of all those things. There's nothing wrong buying those things, but we should not try to fasten the process, because you have to go through that process. If you're driving, if you have an iPhone and you're sending people a call me back text, then it shows you're not ready for the iPhone. It's too expensive. It's too expensive for you. You cannot afford that lifestyle. You become like the prodigal son in the Bible, where you're demanding what is rightly yours too soon, but you're not ready. You don't have the wisdom and the intelligence to do that. So we as men, as black people, I think we have to relook at our fight with the world. I think we are fighting our fight the wrong way. We are fighting the world, but forgetting that it's us that needs to change so that the world will change because of who we've become. At this point, we don't really know who we are, because our definition is purely based on things. So the more we try to get these things and the more empty we feel, the more we spend. Secondly, a place like a township, we have to look at a township as a country. And why are most townships poor? Most townships are poor because majority of people that live in townships there's no businesses or there's no factories in the townships. The factories are always outside. So they leave the townships, they go, they make money from factories outside, and then when they get paid that money, they don't spend it in the malls in the township, they'll come spend that money in Sandton. So any country where it's spending more than what it's bringing in, of course, it's bound to suffer.
It's doomed to fail.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's doomed to fail.
So we need to start building these economies. We need to start building these factories. We need to start building all these things. If you look at the amount of men walking from Alex on Greystone Drive coming into Sandton, if those businesses were there, you're already saving on time, you're already saving on transport, and it means they'll be investing their money back where? They'll be investing their money back in places.
In
they
townships.
live. Yeah. So we have to realize that you have to learn to dominate. You have to learn to dominate where you populate.
It's a mindset, Steve. It's a mindset, and I one of the things that I do a lot of CSI, which is giving back to the community. And there's this young lady who she's in grade 6, which is upper standard 4, and she passed so well. And I say to her, "Oh, well done, you passed so well." Her mother, I give her some jobs. She does all my outfits, my kurtas. And I say to her, "Okay, what would you like as a well done gift? Something just to encourage you to keep going." The first thing she asked for was she asked for braces, to just straighten out her teeth. I said, "Whoa, okay, calm down. Let's come. That's about 25,000 rand, for someone to have their teeth straight." I said, "Okay, fine. What else?" And the second thing on the list was an iPhone 13. I said, "Right. Here's what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna give you a calculator that is produced by a company called Sharp, but it's got all these psalms in it. So now, while you're still doing your normal homework, you can also practice extra homework, and it will actually make you even brighter. Knowledge. You don't need braces. You don't need an iPhone. You need something that can grant you more knowledge and make you more sharper when it comes to thinking your math skills." I said, "This is what I'm going to give you. Not what you're looking for, not what your friends have. Your mom can afford those things. Me giving them to you doesn't make any sense. What you just said now, just say we're so much in a rush to have those Louis Vuitton, the BMWs, and all those things. We're not thinking of the process to say, okay, but where am I living? How is it that I can drive home an X5 and still open up the gate manually, get out the car and have to, without pressing a remote? Besides that, how is my neighbor living? He has a shack or she has a shack. How can I bring such a car when the neighbor that I live with lives in a shack?
Can I replace a tire?
Can I replace?
if I need to.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it really is a mindset, because I see the younger generation is also adapting so much and so fast to such a lifestyle. You say, I've got to have an iPhone. But no, your mom commute by public transport to come to me, for me to give her a piece of bread. What does it make sense for you to have an iPhone?
And how long will you keep that iPhone in the environment you live in?
Impossible.
Yeah.
It's bound to get stolen. Yeah. It's bound to get stolen because you're attracting other people with something that they don't have.
So, Brother Mohammed, what is your parting words to our men in the township there? How do they pull themselves up? Normally, when you read Western stories, they'll always tell you that you have to pull yourself by the straps of your boot. But most of them will tell you they don't even have boots.
My parting way is to our black brothers in the townships. Those who are making it, those not making it. Those who are making it, I would probably say to them, come and find us. When I say us, I mean men of honor. Come and find us, help help our community. If you're a leader of a township, if you're a leader of a community, if you're a leader of a church, come and find us. And finding us means that we're going to do this together. Together means that we are willing to come to such an environment to come and assist you, as is always said, in baby steps. No need to rush. We'll come and assess the situation, look how we can help. Because, Steve, it's easy for us to say to them right now, do this, do that. People will never do that. Forget it. So we're saying, raise your hands, Send an email, do a like, whatever you need to do, come and find us. Find us so we can also come and find you and assist you where you need help. Secondly, to those who are aspiring or who are at the lowest ends, patience, give it time. You don't need to have that luxury life that looks as if it's the world's greatest life. Start small. Look within, help at home, help your neighbor, and learn just to be a good and a better person. So I'm willing to help those communities. I'm not saying I'll give them money. I don't have the kind of money in the world. It's impossible to help our South African communities. But what can we do together? Where can we find those resources that we need to build or change our mindsets, especially talking to leaders of such communities? Find us and let us help your community to do something great of itself. That's my parting words. Because I don't believe in just giving advice. It's time for us to also raise our hands. So we are available. What do you need? How can we, given the resources that we have, to reach out to you? We have banks behind us. We have communities behind us. We have leaders behind us. We have people that we can say, look into this community. Look what they have done. Look what they're doing. How do we expand those communities?
Now, you've heard it from Brother Mohammed. As black people, we're very God-fearing people. We are godly people. But the unfortunate thing is most of us misuse our spirituality. Nothing is going to change in your life until you change. And as much as God has a plan for you, He's not going to plan your life for you. So we have to know, and we have to know that we serve a God of process. God is not going to take you to a destination until He builds capacity. And capacity will always come by you overcoming challenges and obstacles. By you sitting in that shack and reading in the dark, most of us become very embarrassed of that because we want to all of a sudden be like our brother that lives in the suburb. But we forget that he had to go through the process. You cannot inherit process, and neither can you fulfill your purpose without going through the process. Process makes sure that you have enough capacity to withstand whatever it is that you are created for. Purpose will always be big, and depending on how big your purpose is, it will determine the kind of obstacles and challenges that you face in your life. Always remember, how you face your breaking point will always determine your breakthrough in life. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Hope to catch you soon. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe, share, and like. And soon again, we'll catch up with Brother Mohammed, and we'll keep on talking. Keep on letting us know what issues and what topics you want us to share and talk about, and we'll do that.